On the morning of October 5, 2022, the peaceful coastal community of Chatham County, Georgia was stunned by devastating news. 24-year-old Leilani Simon contacted authorities to report her 20-month-old son Quinton missing from their home outside Savannah. According to her initial account, she had last seen her toddler in his playpen around midnight the previous evening. When she awoke around 9 a.m., she claimed to have found the front door of their home open and her son nowhere to be found. The Chatham County Police Department responded immediately, securing the area and beginning a thorough search of the property. The community quickly mobilized as news spread of the missing toddler with bright eyes and an infectious smile. Local volunteers joined law enforcement in searching nearby neighborhoods, wooded areas, and waterways. The FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment (CARD) team arrived to provide specialized resources and expertise, demonstrating the seriousness with which authorities were treating the disappearance. Media outlets broadcast Quinton's image across the nation, and concerned citizens followed developments closely, hoping for the boy's safe return. Simon appeared distressed in early interviews, pleading for information about her son's whereabouts. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly desperate mother's plea lay inconsistencies that investigators would gradually uncover through their meticulous work and attention to detail. From the beginning, aspects of Leilani Simon's account raised concerns among experienced investigators. Detective Marion Lemons noted troubling observations when examining the Simon residence. The detective found that Quinton's playpen contained evidence suggesting he had been unwell prior to his disappearance. Despite Simon's suggestion of a possible abduction, there were no signs of forced entry to the home, an important detail that immediately raised red flags among the investigative team. Corporal Cody Jepson conducted multiple thorough searches of the property but found no indication of Quinton's whereabouts. Body-worn camera footage later presented a trial-captured Simon describing the clothing Quinton was reportedly last wearing, a Sesame Street pajama top paired with red or black gym shorts. The first significant breakthrough came through innovative investigative techniques. Detective Kiana Robbins accessed data from the flock camera system, an automated license plate recognition network deployed across Chatham County. The records revealed multiple detections of Simon's vehicle between the late night of October 4 and early morning of October 5, contradicting her initial claim that she had remained at home throughout the night and morning. These digital footprints would prove crucial in establishing a timeline of events that conflicted with Simon's narrative. When questioned by Lieutenant Eugene Foster, Simon initially maintained her story that she had not left the residence. However, as questioning continued, her account changed. She claimed she had driven to a nearby convenience store to purchase medication for tooth pain. This inconsistency represented the first discrepancy in Simon's account, one that would grow as investigators continued their methodical pursuit of the truth. Investigators noted how Simon's story evolved when confronted with evidence, a pattern that would continue throughout the investigation. As the investigation intensified, authorities began piecing together a concerning portrait of life in the Simon household through interviews with neighbors, family members, and acquaintances. What emerged was a home environment marked by instability and concerning dynamics that affected all the children living there. Melanie Bowling, who had lived near Simon, provided testimony about conversations during Simon's pregnancy with Quinton. According to Bowling, Simon had expressed significant reservations about the pregnancy and showed little enthusiasm about becoming a mother again. Bowling recalled multiple instances where Simon had discussed her frustration with parenthood and the challenges of raising Quinton specifically. Particularly concerning was the testimony of Talia McCarta, a local teenager who resided in Simon's neighborhood. Talia recounted instances where she observed Simon handle Quinton inappropriately, resulting in the child falling. In another incident, she observed Simon place the toddler in a potentially dangerous situation near water without proper safety measures. Talia also recalled occasions when Simon would leave the child at Talia's home for extended periods without checking on his well-being. The teenager testified that she often found herself acting as an impromptu caretaker for Quinton, stepping in where Simon's attention appeared to be elsewhere. Talia expressed regret at not reporting these concerning behaviors to authorities earlier. Central to understanding the dynamics of the Simon household was Simon's relationship with her boyfriend, Danny Youngkin, who lived with her and the children at the time of Quinton's disappearance. Court testimony revealed a relationship marked by arguments, domestic tension, and apparent prioritization of their relationship over the children's well-being. Text messages presented as evidence showed Youngkin referring to Simon's children in unfavorable terms, suggesting a household where the children were viewed more as burdens than beloved family members. Paul Simon, Leilani's brother, testified about frequent arguments between his sister and Youngkin, describing a home atmosphere filled with tension. He noted that despite this challenging environment, Quinton seemed to maintain a positive relationship with Youngkin, demonstrating the resilience often seen in young children. Youngkin's testimony during the trial proved crucial to the prosecution's case. He admitted that despite living in the home, he did not check on Quinton on the morning Simon reported him missing. This contradicted Simon's claim to investigators that Youngkin had seen the child that morning, a significant discrepancy that undermined her account of events. FBI agent Bridget Brock specifically testified that Simon had insisted Youngkin saw Quinton in his crib that morning, while Youngkin himself could not confirm this, creating a crucial inconsistency in Simon's narrative. Perhaps most revealing was Youngkin's agreement to participate in a monitored conversation in a hotel room with Simon, suggesting he had come to doubt her version of events and was willing to assist investigators in uncovering the truth. On October 12, 2022, just 1 week after Quinton was reported missing, the Chatham County Police Department made a solemn announcement that fundamentally altered the trajectory of the investigation. They believed something tragic had happened to Quinton Simon, and they identified a family member as the person of interest. The search for a missing child officially transformed into a homicide investigation. This shift came after investigators had gathered substantial evidence casting doubt on Simon's story. Surveillance footage had captured Simon's vehicle stopping at waste disposal containers, locations where authorities would later theorize evidence had been discarded. This directly contradicted her revised claim about visiting a Chevron gas station. Cell phone records played a crucial role in undermining Simon's account. Data showed movement patterns inconsistent with her statements about her whereabouts on the night of October 4 and morning of October 5. Additionally, text messages revealed communications about acquiring certain substances in the days leading up to Quinton's disappearance. While Simon claimed these exchanges were on behalf of a friend, investigators found this explanation unconvincing given the timing and context of the messages. A particularly telling moment emerged during a cigarette break during questioning when Simon made a revelation about her temperament. She admitted to law enforcement that she experienced sudden emotional changes, stating that she could lose control without realizing it. This spontaneous confession about her volatile emotional state would later become significant when prosecutors constructed their case about the circumstances surrounding Quinton's disappearance. Another witness testimony further contradicted Simon's alibi. Simon had claimed to meet someone at a gas station on the morning of Quinton's disappearance to retrieve medication for tooth pain. However, her former co-worker Melissa, Missy, Bray testified that while Simon had mentioned coming to get medication from her, she never actually arrived to collect it, another inconsistency in Simon's increasingly questionable narrative. As investigators built their case, they developed a theory that evidence related to Quinton had been disposed of in a waste container and subsequently transported to a local landfill. This led to one of the most extensive and challenging search operations in the region's history, involving dozens of personnel working in difficult conditions. The search benefited from specialized expertise provided by Team Adam, a group of retired law enforcement volunteers from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. 2 landfill experts from the team analyzed data to identify a specific area in the landfill where evidence was most likely located, significantly narrowing the search parameters. For weeks, the community watched and waited as the difficult search continued. Then, on November 18, 2022, approximately 5 weeks after Quinton was reported missing, investigators made a discovery. Evidence was carefully collected and sent to the FBI laboratory in Quantico, Virginia, for analysis. FBI forensic expert Dr. Angie Christensen would later testify that the evidence confirmed it belonged to a child between 1 and 2 years old, consistent with Quinton's age. Most significantly, her analysis indicated concerning circumstances before the tragic outcome, providing crucial scientific evidence that would form an important part of the prosecution's case. On November 21, 2022, police arrested Leilani Simon, charging her in connection with her son's case. In December 2022, a grand jury returned an indictment against Simon containing 19 separate charges. These included serious charges related to the case, including concealing evidence, and multiple counts related to false reports and statements. While prosecutors did not specify exactly what happened to Quinton, likely due to the condition of the evidence, they built a comprehensive case around Simon's deceptive behavior, contradictions in her testimony, and the substantial circumstantial evidence pointing to her involvement. Simon entered a plea of not guilty to all charges, setting the stage for what would become one of the region's most closely watched criminal trials. Medical evidence presented during the trial helped eliminate potential alternative explanations. Dr. Kenneth Birch, a pediatric cardiologist who had previously evaluated Quinton, testified about the child's heart murmur. He stated definitively that the heart condition could not have caused the child's passing, countering any suggestion that Quinton might have experienced natural causes. This testimony was critical in ruling out medical explanations for what happened to Quinton. Dr. Amanda Puentes, who served as Quinton's pediatrician for his last checkups, testified that she had no concerns during her examinations. While this testimony might initially seem to favor the defense, prosecutors used it to establish that Quinton had been a generally healthy child whose life was cut short by non-medical circumstances. The trial of Leilani Simon began in October 2024, nearly 2 years after Quinton's disappearance. Over 9 intense days, prosecutors presented dozens of witnesses and substantial physical and digital evidence to build their case against the defendant. The prosecution strategy focused on demonstrating a series of inconsistencies in Simon's statements from the earliest moments of the investigation. Assistant District Attorney Tim Dean methodically laid out contradictions in her accounts, physical evidence challenging her claims, and testimony suggesting a troubled relationship with her son that preceded his disappearance. A significant focus was placed on Simon's apparent preoccupation with her relationship with Yunkin and personal matters, rather than the well-being of her children. Testimony suggested that caring for Quinton was viewed as an obligation that interfered with her preferred lifestyle. Prosecutors presented evidence of Simon's frequent complaints about parenting responsibilities and her apparent prioritization of social activities over childcare. The defense, led by attorney Robert Percy, argued that the state's case was built on conjecture rather than concrete evidence. They emphasized that there was no direct proof that Simon had intentionally harmed her son and suggested that what happened to Quinton could have been accidental or caused by someone else. Defense attorney Martin Hilliard specifically pointed to Yunkin's initial statement to police that he had seen Quinton multiple times on the morning of the child's disappearance, though this claim was later contradicted by Yunkin's own trial testimony. The defense team also attempted to cast doubt on the reliability of key witnesses, suggesting that their recollections might have been influenced by media coverage or by a desire to assist law enforcement. They questioned the scientific analysis of evidence recovered from the landfill, suggesting alternative interpretations of the findings. During closing arguments, Assistant District Attorney Jenny Parker emphatically stated that what happened to Quinton was not accidental and that Simon was responsible. The prosecution portrayed a mother who viewed her toddler as an obstacle to her desired lifestyle. Parker methodically reviewed the evidence, asking jurors to consider the totality of the circumstances and the overwhelming evidence of Simon's deception throughout the investigation. After deliberations, the jury returned in October 2024 with their unanimous verdict, guilty on all charges. The verdict represented the culmination of 2 years of investigative work and the community's long quest for justice for Quinton. On November 21, 2024, Leilani Simon appeared before Chatham County Judge Tammy Stokes for sentencing. In a solemn courtroom filled with law enforcement officers who had worked the case, community members who had followed it closely, and media reporting on the conclusion of the tragic saga, Judge Stokes sentenced Simon to life in prison with the possibility of parole, plus an additional 10 years for the other charges. During the sentencing hearing, Judge Stokes noted the profound impact of the case, stating, "The one thing that I will say before pronouncing sentence is clearly little Quinton Simon's life impacted many, many individuals, but also the community at large. Simon stood silently as the sentence was read, offering no statement to the court or to those who had loved Quinton. Defense attorney Martin Hilliard indicated plans to file a motion for a new trial, but legal experts commenting on the case noted the strength of the prosecution's evidence and the comprehensive nature of the guilty verdict on all counts. The case of Quinton Simon stands as a profound tragedy that has left an indelible mark on Chatham County and beyond. For the community members who had participated in searches, held vigils, or followed the case through media reports, the resolution brought a measure of justice but little comfort. Many were left grappling with the reality that the person who had appeared most concerned about finding Quinton was responsible for his fate. The case prompted important conversations about how warning signs might have been missed and what could have been done differently to protect a vulnerable child. Community organizations reported an increase in child welfare reports following the case, suggesting heightened awareness of the importance of reporting concerns. Local schools and community centers implemented new educational programs about recognizing signs that children might be at risk. Law enforcement officials involved in the case described it as one of the most challenging and emotionally difficult investigations of their careers. The dedicated team that conducted the landfill search received special recognition from the community for their persistence in finding evidence under extraordinarily difficult circumstances. Quinton Simon's legacy endures not only as a heartbreaking reminder but also as a catalyst for greater awareness about child welfare and protection. In communities across Georgia and beyond, his name has become associated with the need for vigilance, compassion, and intervention when children may be at risk. Several child advocacy organizations established memorial funds in Quinton's name to support programs aimed at preventing similar tragedies. As the judicial process concluded in November 2024, the words of Judge Stokes resonated with many who had followed the case: "May there be peace, somehow." It was an acknowledgement that while justice had been served in the courtroom, the deeper impact of this tragedy would take much longer to heal. The community continues to remember Quinton through annual vigils and ongoing efforts to strengthen child protection systems. The case of Quinton Simon serves as a solemn reminder of society's responsibility to protect its most vulnerable members, and of the importance of reporting concerns when children appear to be in potentially dangerous situations.
If you enjoy deep dives into true crime, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Until next time, friends!